do anything makeup related, and this time it's going to be under eye concealers. I am going to talk about how, like, products that I like that stay in place, that minimize wrinkles, and that I use consistently. I think I'm trying to think of the oldest client that I've done makeup on. She was in her 80s, so I have a lot of experience in kind of different age women. So I'm going to give you my favorite products and my favorite tips and tricks on how to do under eye concealer. Now, before I start with that, this is my first video that I am shooting after the Paris attacks, and I wanted to touch on that. If you're not interested in this, just forward wind a minute or two, because it's really close to my heart. And first of all, thank you so much for everybody's messages. You've been messaging me personally and through YouTube and through other social media, and I really, really appreciate it. I wasn't in Paris on the night that it happened. A lot of my friends and loved ones were. Everybody's okay. And I was trying to find the words to express, you know, how I felt about it, and, you know, how do you go forward from something like that? And I found a video by this guy, Antoine, who lost his wife in the shooting. She was at Bataclan, and he just put it so perfectly. I can never be as eloquent as this man is. So I'm going to link to his video below. It's beautiful. Like, I'm welling up just thinking about it. And I also felt like I didn't lose a loved one in the attack, so I feel like I don't have as much right, if that makes any sense, to comment on it. But so I wanted to link his video anyways. And so okay, I'm really welling up just thinking about the video. Anyways, I'm gonna leave that in, it's fine. But life goes on, and, you know, something as light as makeup, which can be important to, you know, many of us. So life goes on, and it's important not to live in fear, but to enjoy every single day. And for me personally, and I know for a lot of you, makeup is part of that, enjoying life. And most of the under eye concealers that I love are high-end under eye concealers. I've got 3 ones that towards the end of the video I'm going to recommend to use from drugstores. But I personally firmly believe that if you are spending money on makeup, foundations and concealers are top of the list to be spending money on. Skimp on mascara, skimp on lip gloss, skimp on stuff like that, but things that actually go onto your skin, for me, it's really important to spend good money on, and especially as our skin ages, becomes even more important. Now, under eye concealers can be tricky. As soon as you've acquired a couple of wrinkles under the eyes, a couple of things happen when you get older. First of all, it's wrinkles, but then also if you start losing fat around the eyes, bags can actually start appearing worse. You know, if you look in the mirror, kind of tilt your chin like this, you can see that kind of like the edge of the bone, and my cat is on the table trying to come into the Esme, please. Cat situation is over. So let's just get on with the under eye concealers. Now, just as important as how you conceal the under eye circles is how you prep the skin. Now, for me, try to find an under eye cream that is kind of like moisturizing enough for your own skin, but not too rich, because that's also going to then make the under eye concealer slide around. One specific one that I especially like for slightly older skin is Dermalogica's Intensive Eye Repair. It's very rich, but it's not too greasy. So if you've got drier skin under the eyes, use that always. I always use your pinky or your kind of ring finger to pat it in. If, on the other hand, you suffer from kind of like bags under the eyes, like a lot of fluid retention around here, my absolute favorite is Kiehls Facial Fuel ID Puffer. Now, this is actually for men, works a beauty on like puffy under eye bags. I absolutely love it. This isn't insanely moisturizing, so you might want to layer it with your eye cream, but just use an eye cream under. Now, I've got drugstore and high-end concealers, and as I'm talking through them, I will also kind of like talk you through my tips and techniques. And I am going to start off with probably probably my favorite under eye concealer for a grown-up girl. And that is, this has been my favorite for such a long time. And that is byTerry, and it's called the Touche Veloutee. My shade is number 2, and it has a very big brush on it, and it's one of those click, click. You go under the eyes and you blend it in. Now, this one is very light, yet it seems to cover a lot. The actual consistency of it is very light. The way I use it is I draw a triangle, and then I love to use the MAC 224 for under the eyes, and I just kind of buff it in. Or, of course, the tiny little beauty blender. When you wet this and you go around the eyes, it takes away all of the extra. The very important thing with aging skin under the eyes is minimize the amount of product. Don't use too much. If in doubt, less. You can always add more, but piling things under the eyes will just make wrinkles look worse. Now, another product from byTerry is called Touch Expert Advanced. I'll put a picture here. I am out of it right now. That is another amazing, amazing product for under the eyes. byTerry is really good at these things. In close succession, this is not as much a concealer as it is a highlighter. I bought a couple of these special edition YSL. Another great brand is Armani for under eye concealers, and one of my all-time favorites is the Maestro one. My shade is number 2. This is very fluid. I use it exactly the same way with my MAC 224, and the only complaint I have about this is it stays put very well. It's very, very fluid, but it's kind of messy. It always gets very messy. I don't know how this is kind of like designed, but I often just literally open this, use my brush to get the product from around, and put it under my eyes. It's very fluid. The main thing with these products that I seem to like for under the eyes, they're not too creamy. Creamy means cakey, and it does move around on the face. And to me, that's just not particularly pretty when under eye concealer kind of like starts caking around. So this one is amazing. Now, if you tend to get blueness or green, kind of depends on your skin tone, if they're blue or green, kind of inside of the corner of the eyes, also just here, tends to get darker as we get older. Armani Maestro Corrector in pink or peach, if you've got slightly darker skin, is absolutely incredible. It has a tiny, tiny little brush, so you can get exactly where the veins are, and I tend to just use my finger to blend it ever so slightly. I don't want to move it around too much because I put it exactly where the veins are. Now, I am out of their High Precision Retouch. It's a similar kind of little container, and it has a similar brush, but the whole container is actually black. And I didn't think I was out of it. I think I've lost it, which is more worrying. If you have that kind of just a line around here, I'll need to do a demo video just about this. That is an absolute godsend. So just literally use a teeny little brush to trace around, pat it in with your finger, and the shadow, well, it's not gone. The kind of misperception is that people start using so much concealer, we expect the bags and the wrinkles to be completely gone. That's impossible. That's retouching. That's why, you know, magazine models look the way, and actresses, even if they're in their 60s, look like they don't have any wrinkles. That is retouching. You shouldn't pile on the product so much that you think you're going to get rid of everything. It is about minimizing blurry and kind of trick of the eye, so to speak. Makeup Forever has 2 great products for under the eyes for aging skin. The first one is Makeup Forever HD High Definition Concealer. I love these. They come in millions of shades. The only thing I don't like about it is the kind of the rubber tip applicator. This is not that convenient. I tend to dot it on, and because it does have a little bit more coverage, I actually use my wet, mine went blank, beauty blender sponge to just dab it on. Like I said, I don't like too much product. So if a concealer has a good amount of pigment, feel free to use a sponge to kind of even it out. But that one stays put really well, imperceptible, and does cover incredibly well. Now their, hold on, lift concealer. Their lift concealer doesn't cover quite as much, but it is specifically formulated for aging skin, and it does seem to kind of awaken eyes. Now this one I tend to use more with the brush because I don't need to kind of dilute the product as much, but both of them are absolutely incredible products from Makeup Forever for under the eyes. Now if your problem is really dark under eyes, with aging skin, you cannot go wrong with NARS. So the Radiant Creamy Concealer, mine is vanilla, is incredible. You would have heard so many people talk about this. This covers like a dream, and it just has that normal kind of lip gloss type wand. I pat it on, and if I'm using it on somebody with very dark under eyes, again, I blend it with a brush. If the under eyes aren't that dark, and if there's more wrinkles, I use my beauty blender. This thing stays put like a dream. Now, there's a lot of pigment in it, so if you do use too much, it will go cakey. So really with any of these, less is more. Less is always more. I did want to add one product in for very kind of like extreme conditions, so to speak. If you live in a humid climate, if your concealer slips and slides around, my absolute favorite for a thin kind of consistency is Urban Decay's Naked Skin Weightless Complete Coverage Concealer. This stays put forever, and it is very thin. Now on myself, I do use it with a beauty blender because it does pack a punch. And even on myself, I feel like if I put on too much, it is too visible. But when you use this sparingly, it's incredible, and it really stays put, like incredible. Now I'm just going to give you one product that's actually a highlighter. This is the YSL Touche Eclat that started the whole thing of like beautiful light stuff that you can put under your eyes. This is actually a highlighter. I bought a couple of these special edition, kind of like, what is this? Is this leopard print? Leopard print ones. This is my last one. I'm a little bit sad about that. I do love these, but as more products have come onto the market, I guess my love for this is something I carry in my handbag. It's quick to put over makeup as well, but yeah, be careful of the highlighting effect if you're having your photo taken, but they are great. Now for my 3 drugstore favorites. First ones, well, I've got 2 different shades here. NYX HD, what is the official name? HD Photogenic Concealer. Stays put like a dream. Again, there's a lot of pigment in this, so beauty blender product, I would say, but these really stay put, don't gather in the wrinkles. And one thing that I notice with people is once you do your under eye concealer, if you don't set it immediately, and I'm going to talk about setting in a minute, and then if you put powder on, let's say 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, if the product has moved at all, you're setting it in the wrinkles. So one top tip is if you do your under eye concealer, you're doing other stuff, and if you do want to put a little bit of powder on top, use your pinky and press around the eyes, and then immediately put a super light veil of powder. I'll talk about the powders that I like to use if I'm using them under the eyes. Anyways, that was a little tangent. Another complete and utter favorite is the Garnier BB Cream Miracle Skin Perfector. This one stays put like a dream, almost like water, and it does not gather. With this, I never even use powder. This is a beautiful product. Costs almost nothing. The only thing is it doesn't really come in different shades, so that's a bit of a bummer, but it's a wonderful product. It kind of does adjust to your skin, but if you're very pale or darker, everything in the kind of mid-range, it works for. And last but not least, Bourjois CC Eye Cream. Love this stuff. The one I have, I think this is 23. I use 22 and 23. and has the same kind of like plastic rubber applicator as the Makeup Forever one, which I don't like particularly. So you kind of like twist it, product comes out, and I don't like the feeling of rubber under my eye because it feels like it sticks a little bit. So often I'll just put it in the back of my hand and use my 224 to blend it. But this is a great product, stays put, and again, very liquid. So you'll notice that the products that I'm really liking for grown-up girls is they're liquid, they're fluid, and you can use them in different ways. So please stay away from anything too creamy, too cakey. It's great if you're 21, but you know, anything above that, okay, probably, you know, I would say, I'm trying to think of like my grown-up girl series. Where does it start? Where do I put the age? 30, 35, somewhere like that, and then up to 90 or even more. It's women that have started noticing that time does take its toll. Fair enough? Okay, setting. So I don't always set, depending on my client, I don't always set the under eye concealer. And also depending on what I'm using under the eyes. If I've got waterproof liner, and if I'm using my absolute favorite Clinique Lash Power on the lashes under, I very seldom set it. Now, if the concealer moves around a little bit, just use your pinky, pat it in, and that's fine. Now, if you do want to set it, use very, very, very light touch. Now, I use a very small, fluffy brush. This one is by Inglot. The 4SS brush. Don't go in with a powder puff. You're getting way too much stuff under your eyes. And if you do a big brush, you're kind of like missing the whole thing. So with this, I tend to take a little bit of powder and I pat it on very lightly and then I sweep. Now my absolute favorite is, but this is a little bit difficult to get a hold of, is the Ashiko Ultra High Definition. This powder is lighter than light. It is absolutely insane. When you're applying it, it's so light that you tend to breathe it in. I tend not to breathe when I'm applying it, but it is a beautiful powder. I'll put a link below to the Ashiko site, but it is fantastic. Another favorite of mine is the Illamasqua. This is just called Loose Powder. This is beautiful, super, super light. Laura Mercier's Universal Powder is great as well, but use a tiny amount, just such a tiny amount. And often after I powder, I will often go back with my finger and just kind of pat it again. There's a tiny bit of like natural oils on your finger, so it tends to absorb any of the extra powder. So it's like tiny amount is key. Now, obviously when I'm doing makeup videos, I will show you how to do concealer in them. If you'd like to see specifically a video of just applying the concealers instead of talking about products. Obviously I can't show you how to apply all of these, but specifically how to apply a concealer. Maybe I'll do one about the kind of the bags, because that's difficult. That's a little bit more difficult to conceal. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next week. I think I'm going to continue with my makeup declutter next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.